As we leave the visitors centre, you can see gold flags that indicate the landmarks of the city, and purple, green and red flags which show the location of shafts along the New Chum, Garden Gully and Hustlers lines of reef. The Bendigo goldfield has produced over 22 million ounces of gold, and around 80% of this was obtained from quartz reef mining, carried out from surface to a depth of 1,400 metres. We're approaching the Swan Decline portal, from which modern-day mining and exploration is being conducted. Keep this location in mind for later in the tour. Between 1853 and 1954, quartz reef mining yielded some 18 million ounces of gold from around 40 million tonnes of ore. That is, nearly half an ounce recovered per tonne of ore. Approaching the heart of town, notice the location of the important tourist attractions, such as the Central Deborah Tourist Mine, Sacred Heart Cathedral, Queen Elizabeth Oval and Rosalind Park. The most productive portion of the Bendigo goldfield lies in an envelope some 16 kilometres long by 4 kilometres wide. Within this zone, 17 anticlines occur, and 12 of these folds account for the bulk of hard rock gold production. By far the most productive anticlines, that is those producing more than 500,000 ounces, are the Garden Gully, New Chum, Hustlers, Sheep's Head and Cashelton. These 5 lines of reef have together yielded well in excess of 16 million ounces. More than 5,000 hard rock shafts have been sunk within the productive envelope of the Bendigo goldfield. At least 278 of these shafts are greater than 200 metres deep. 83 exceed 500 metres depth, and 10 of these are over 1,000 metres deep. The 2 deepest shafts are on the New Chum anticline, shown in purple. Here, the Victoria Quartz shaft reaches just over 1.4 kilometres, while the New Chum railway shaft has been sunk more than 1.3 kilometres. The scale of the mining operations may be judged from what has been physically removed from underground. Here we've shown just a few of the reefs that were mined along the New Chum line. Around 40 million tonnes of gold-bearing quartz have been removed from the underground mines, and to this must be added around 20 million tonnes of barren rock. The many shafts and tunnels you see beneath the surface in this model are simply access routes to the gold-bearing quartz reefs, and in fact only represent about 30% of the total underground voids. The other unrepresented 70% of voids are the mining stopes or areas of quartz reef mined out. The current Bendigo mining underground operation, which commenced in 1998, consists of a decline tunnel which allows for bulk sampling, exploration drilling and the transport of ore from great depths. This decline, named the Swan Decline, marked in blue, allows development of unmined ribbons well beneath old workings on the Deborah and Sheep's Head anticlines. The decline forms the base from which continued exploration and mining will extend at depth and along strike. Bendigo mining is well advanced in developing an underground mine, and the initial focus is on the Sheep's Head and Deborah lines of reef, where drilling from underground to date has identified significant gold resources in 3 ribbons. Furthermore, a resource potential of at least 12 million ounces of gold has been reported by the company beneath the historic workings. An estimate of the mine's future indicates the possibility of production rates up to 450,000 ounces per annum for over 25 years, at a cash cost less than $200 Australian per ounce. This will make the new Bendigo project a large-scale, long-life, low-cost gold producer of world standard. As we travel up the decline path, you can see the many small stockpile bays and exploration drives from which most of the drilling is conducted. The decline is 5.5 metres wide and 5.5 metres high, with a gradient of 1 in 6.5. On a busy day, it can take you more than an hour to drive down and up again. You have now travelled more than 11 kilometres from where you began the underground portion of the tour. We are now proceeding to our start position, which is approximately 4 kilometres southeast of the Bendigo town centre at an altitude of 1,400 metres. The New Chum line. As we travel north over Bendigo, you'll notice gold flags that show the location of landmarks in the Bendigo area, such as the Fortuna Villa and Victoria Hill, while purple flags indicate 9 of the major shafts along the New Chum line of reef. There are 35 significant mines on the New Chum line, and 16 of these mines have each produced over 100,000 ounces of gold. Over an 80-year period, more than 3.8 million ounces were won from this line. The New Chum and Hustlers reefs were worked first as open-cut mines because there were surface outcrops of quartz. However, it soon became apparent to the early miners that the outcrops of quartz reefs occurred along definite parallel lines, and that these lines coincided with the centers of the anticlinal folds in the sedimentary rocks. Looking south, you can see the linear nature of the reefs, as shown by the position of the shafts. As we go underground, we see the depths to which the early miners went to follow these surface outcrops, and a representation of the folds on which the reefs are centered. We see some of the more significant mines labelled here, such as Catherine United, which produced almost 320,000 ounces of gold, Lady Barclay, 181,000 ounces, and Hercules and Energetic, which had a total depth of 910 meters. Along with these, the New Chum anticline holds the deepest shafts on the Bendigo goldfield. The Victoria Quartz shaft reaches 1.4 kilometers in depth. To give you some idea of size, we've inserted the famous Chrysler building from New York that measures 319 meters. Yes, it would take 4 of these skyscrapers or 3 Empire State Buildings to match the depths that the old-timers mined to. Modern exploration and data compilation show recovered gold grades for this line of reef to be around 15 grams or half an ounce of gold per ton of ore mined. Towards the southern end of the New Chum line, we see the New Chum railway shaft, which has been sunk to 1,376 meters, the second deepest shaft in the Bendigo goldfield. It is estimated that at least another 3.3 million ounces of gold are contained below the old workings on the New Chum line to a depth of 1,500 meters. The Garden Gully line. As we travel away from Bendigo, you can see gold flags highlight the location of landmarks in the Bendigo area, such as the Swan Decline Portal and the Central Deborah Tourist Mine, along with green flags that indicate 6 of the major shafts along the Garden Gully line. The Garden Gully line is the longest line of reef in the Bendigo goldfield. Overall, it extends some 11 kilometres north from the Bendigo town centre all the way to Sailors Gully. This line was mined from the 1860s through to 1941 and has a recorded production of 5.2 million ounces of gold. This equates to almost a third of the total gold won from the Bendigo field. Below is the town of Eaglehawk, which you will see is built on the northern portion of the Garden Gully line. Looking to the south, you can see Bendigo in the distance. You are now more than 9 kilometres from the town centre. As we look below the surface, you can see the true extent of the historical workings. The shafts highlighted in green all worked the Garden Gully line of reef. We've superimposed Australia's largest open-cut gold mine, the Kalgoorlie Super Pit in Kalgoorlie's famous Golden Mile, to give a size comparison between Australia's 2 largest gold-producing regions. Of the 28 individual larger mines, the 6 mines labelled produced over 60% of the total gold from the line, that is, more than 3 million ounces. Of this amount, the Carlisle lease